All right, we're jumping into George Janko. If you're following him, he's Christian, right? He's been around for a couple years now.
Yeah, he was with was the big YouTuber Logan Paul.
Oh yeah,
He was
yeah.
with him for a while. I think.
Yeah. And I think there was some conflicting. I don't know what the thing is there, but he went off, did his own thing. And I think what I like about George, I haven't been following him super closely, but close enough to respect what he's doing. He's a Christian. He's not perfect, and of all the Christians I've seen, like commentating and online, he's as honest as he can be.
Right.
You know, he's not
trying to be fake.
He's not getting on there being like, you know, no one should do this, but I do this. Like, he cusses. I mean,
Yeah,
he's admitted, like, he fools around with his girlfriend. Like, he's not married. Like, but he's genuinely pursuing a Christ-like
open with his
image.
weaknesses and such.
Which I think is really cool. I mean, that's what we're trying to do on this show. Like, talk about the things that are hard and and admit the things that we're struggling with, not just be like, oh, we're perfect Christians and you should be too.
And now he's gonna be talking with Girls Gone Bible.
Yes.
I've just recently started hearing about
them. I just heard about them from this video I watched last week.
Yeah, and so I don't really know much about them, but they're gonna be talking about what does a woman look for in a man?
Yeah, I think right now we're looking at
from their perspective.
George is asking them, what does a man have to do to, I guess, attract like a good woman? Yeah. Basically, it's just a few minutes. We're gonna jump in.
What does a man need to do to get you guys to notice him?
All right, George Janko, Girls Gone Bible. How does a man get a good woman? George Janko.
You see videos of men, you know, they need to grind, and you got to be the leader of the house, and you gotta, I don't know, the way they talk is just so aggressive. Like you gotta kill an alligator with your hands and just be able to rip its blood at any time. Like, it's just so much, and to me, it's just like, as long as I love and provide, I feel like
we like that.
I feel like
I would love a guy to rip an alligator's head.
So no. Let's talk about it. Like, what is in your guys' eyes, right? Like, say. What I want to do is I want to put it in your guys' court. I'm tired of hearing men what women want. I want to hear what women want from men. You know what I mean? Like, if listen, I'm off the market, but if I was not on the market, I would not be listening to some dudes that are like, you know what I mean?
This is what women want. Like, let women tell you what they want.
I feel like you want to go to the I don't know. I don't go to a cow to ask them how eggs are. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, to me, it's a different dairy product.
We can speak biblically, we can speak spiritually, and we can speak practically.
Just talk real, like you guys, like how you guys are.
This is all we want, right?
We're very simple.
Very simple. We want a man who acts like a man, who's manly, who takes care of things.
Leader.
I don't need you to kill an alligator with your hands, but I need to feel so feminine around you because you are so masculine that I can turn my brain off because I know you've got it. Yeah. I trust you. I trust your intellect. I trust your character. I trust that I can close my eyes and follow you blindly, and I'm going to be happy about where I end up. That's what it's about. We go out. I don't have to use my brain. I don't have to think. You know what I mean? Order the whole thing for us. Take me, plan the thing. Say you tell me where we're going, and we're all set. That's honestly, it's so lost on us.
That is
and
so
like,
counter
yes, you talk
to culture right now. Like, you want a man that's gonna just say, "Hop in the car, honey, we're going to town," and you want him to drive you there and tell you where to sit and what booth we're gonna sit in, and like.
So that's good. That challenges me because I feel like I've been more passive. Because I don't want to control my wife.
Right. No, I'm conscious of that.
Yeah,
I'm conscious of that.
But it's so interesting that she's saying, I love how like it seems like she's really speaking from a place of like she's really like saying it so clearly. And I'm like, wow, that changes so much of my own perspective.
Yeah.
Because I think most men too, we don't want to like control our wives, but it's almost like the wife wants to be, I don't want to say controlled.
Yeah, not controlled, but she wants everything like taken care of. She wants to make less decisions. Maybe that's what it is. If we bear the burden of decision making, you know, like, for example, like, I'm terrible at setting up dates.
Yeah.
Like, I want to I'm like, honey, that's your job. You know, like, you do that. But, like, that's not her job. That's my job. Like, I should decide, hey, and I shouldn't ask. I should be like, hey, honey, Wednesday night, we're going on a date. What are we doing? Oh, don't worry about it.
Wow, that's so good. See, this is so profound. Just in those few seconds, I'm like, wow, that's really what.
But, like what she just said, that way, my wife's like, okay, Wednesday, we're going out. I don't have to think about it.
Wow.
I don't have to plan it. I don't have to find someone to watch the kids. I don't have to think about what restaurant we're going to. I don't have to drive. I don't even know what we're doing. I'm just going to go with it. Or even like what she said, you know, just I want to close my eyes and know that I'm going to like wherever I end up. That'd be fun. Like, go on a date where we get in the van and like, honey, just put this blindfold on, and I'm just gonna drive you someplace, and we're just gonna go, and it's gonna be good.
Wow, that's good.
Toxic masculinity, that's not good. But
I do like the part they said right before that is if, like, she's like, she wants the men to be so masculine that she can just be feminine.
Wow.
To where she doesn't have to, like, this is probably gonna not come across well. I'm gonna jump from comparing husbands and wives to dogs. So forgive me on this one. But when you see people that have a dog and the dog is out of control, that's because the dog is taking the form of leadership that isn't there. It's filling the vacuum of leadership. So if I'm the alpha male, the dog will mirror me. I come home, I'm the boss, the dog will mirror my authority. But if I'm a passive, not manly man, then that dog will recognize that, and the dog will step up, and it'll have to be the defender. So the dog will be barking at all the strangers, running after all the cars, tearing up everything,
Right.
because
Which is not his position. It's not where he's supposed to be.
and he doesn't want to be there. The dog doesn't want to be alpha. The job of being alpha is a lot of responsibility. That's why in a wolf pack there's one alpha and all the rest follow, because it's a huge responsibility. Now they do fight for it. It's in their blood to like be the leader. They want to be the leader.
The test, like who is called to this?
Yeah, because they want the strongest leader to lead the pack.
Wow.
But all the rest of them, they don't want to be the leader. They just will if no one else is going to do it. And so as men, if we're not the leaders, then our wives will have to pick up the slack because someone's got to do it.
And now they got to be more masculine. They can't just rest in their femininity.
Yeah.
Femininity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But as a husband, don't we want the most feminine wife possible?
Right.
But we're not getting it because we're not being the most masculine possible.
And then we see the extreme, which I guess, because people say Jesus was the ultimate form of masculinity. And you do see that. Like, he was not just strong, but he was sensitive.
Yeah.
And so people conflict the two. So that's very interesting. If you think of masculine, you think of some guy and he's all hairy and he
Right.
chops down trees and hits people.
Right.
It's like,
Doesn't
no,
talk about his feelings at all.
Doesn't talk about his feelings. Like, no, like Jesus is the example of masculinity.
Yeah.
And like he was really open with his heart, but he was also very assertive and he said what he needed to say.
Jordan Peterson speaks to this. He says like men need to be dangerous, but contained. So like I'm raising 2 boys, and so like I'm having these conversations with my wife. The boys will be out in the yard, fighting, wrestling. She's like, oh, I wish they weren't wrestling. I'm like, but they need to be able to kill. Like if my son's 13 and he's with my daughter who's 11 in a park and something happens, like my 13-year-old son needs to be able to kill to protect his sister, not run in fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if a wolf comes out, and attacks his little sister, like he's gonna save her and kill the wolf or die trying. But at the same time, when his sister falls on the skateboard and she's all bleeding, he needs to go over there and pick her up. Are you okay? Carry her to the car. Be
Right.
loving, be kind. So it's like masculine is you need to be a warrior, but also a gardener.
That's good.
You know what I mean? But you have to train to be a warrior because you never know when that has to happen. You know what I
Right.
mean? But at the same time, you're also a gentle gardener who can
switch.
who can discern the difference between the plants and the weeds and take your time to properly prune and clean
Right.
and
The patience
prepare.
of the fruit
and the
coming forth
patience,
and-
the patience. Yeah, masculinity has to be patient.
That's good.
Has to be.
Come on.
It's really important, and that's what we try to push. And we live in a time of, unfortunate new age feminism and this whole idea that women and men need to be the same and they need to compete, and it's all from the enemy. It's all lies. None of it is
So you don't
good
want to
for
be
us.
equal.
We're equal in God's eye. We're equal in value. We're different in role and in the way that we operate.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. My bad. Not
No, that's good. That's good.
No, that's it.
Good.
Yeah, that's it right there.
People
We
get
each
mad,
have we each have our own capacities. When I started learning this stuff years ago, I would say things just to provoke people. I would say like, "Man, women are so much better than men." And then I'd pause at a lot of things. And men are so much better at women. Wait, is that what I just said?
Men are so much better than women. Yeah.
Okay.
The other one said women. He said
Okay,
women
yeah.
are better than men.
Both are better than the other
Right.
in categories.
Yeah.
And we need that. Like, what good is 2 things that are both terrible at things but good at other things? Like, we need that balance of I'm good at chopping wood and fixing cars. My wife is good at cleaning and providing me with good food to eat and raising the children and homeschooling and all those things.
Yeah.
It's like, if I was good at homeschooling and she was good at homeschooling, who's going to fix the car?
That's so good. And it's like just knowing, and God is going to show you. You know, it's so much easier with gender and such. You know, when you get into other roles, like, are you called to be a pastor, evangelist, different
Right.
things. Like, I'm not the best pastor in a sense. Like, obviously, I'm going to pastor my children, my wife.
Right.
But when it comes to that, I can't feel the same stuff that I feel like you're called more. I think you're called to be a, evangelist too, but I think you have more of a pastor heart. Like, you can really
People
feel.
say that, but I don't know, man. I still got a long ways to go if that's the case.
Well, regardless, it's like, okay, I want to grow in being a pastor, but at the end of the day, I feel much more comfortable preaching out there and just going somewhere and just declaring the word of God. That's where I feel the most free. So even with my wife, this is amazing. Like, this is changing so much in my head, like watching this, just hearing them even for a few seconds, because I'm like, wow, I do need to step up more. And I'm like, I got to be okay with being a masculine individual and be able to lead my wife, even if it comes across like I'm doing everything in a sense.
And where the patience comes in, this is just my own example, but when there's times where we feel like we need to move forward with something, a business decision or whatever it may be, and we talk about it and we don't agree, like even just buying this land, like we didn't agree, but I knew for sure that this is what we had to do. So I had to do it, even though my wife was like, this isn't right. This isn't what we're supposed to do. And that's hard, really, really hard. Because like, I want us to be on the same page. I want her to be in agreement with me. That gives me peace of mind to know I'm going the right direction. But sometimes God speaks to Abraham and says, go do this.
And he didn't speak to Sarah.
He didn't speak to anybody. He's like, I told you, Abraham, you're the leader. You go do this. And his wife thinks he's crazy. And like, I've had to do things that my wife thinks I'm crazy for a time.
Yeah,
it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 3 or 4 months. But then after 3 or 4 months, she's like, wow, thank you, honey. Thank you for doing all this. Thank you for,
spearheading this.
Yeah, thank you for spearheading this. I'm so glad. I mean, just a silly example. We had to go to town to get a few groceries sometime this week. This weekend's super busy. We're not going to have any time to go. And so I got home from work yesterday, and we decided, I came home, I'm like, honey, we need to go to town. And she was like, I'm not going to town. Like, we're not going to town tonight. And I was like, no, we got to go to town. She's like, I'm exhausted. Like, I mean, it almost became a big deal. I was like, no, we got to go to town. Like, we got to go. Like, well, I'll just go tomorrow. Like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Yeah. Come on, kids, help me get mom pumped up. We're going to go. We're going to go to town. We're going to get it done. And so we did. And like, the whole way there was just like, oh. I was like, I get it. I didn't want to go to town either. But once we were in town, she said, I'm so glad we came to town today. So I don't have to go to town tomorrow. Yeah. I'm like, you're welcome, babe.
That's good.
But that's hard because you have to go out on a limb, and you're not going to see your wife's going to be like, no. Now you have to know that you're right.
Right.
If she never comes around, you might not be right.
Yeah. And that's hard because
it's very hard.
Mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Like, I'll tell Laura that. Because it's cool. It's like, because I've realized this, when it's like intense, like I know, okay, I have to make a decision here. Like, we were in New York, and I really feel like I was supposed to preach in this area in New York City. And she didn't want me to. Because, I mean, we're in New York City, and I'm going to get up and start
it's not safe. It doesn't feel good here. This isn't the right spot.
And I was like, I feel like Laura was like, it kind of goes back to our previous video about conscience. And I felt like I was like, do it. Like, you're called to do it now. And I was like, I have to do it. And she was glad I did. Like, after it was all said and done, she was glad I stepped up.
But you had to go out
did it.
Against her will, like in the beginning.
And there's times too, and that's the great part of, and that's hard, like having humility, because there's times where she'll say something, I'm like, okay, I feel like she is right.
Totally.
So we need wives to not just, they need to be able to speak up and vocalize and say, and
but also go with it. Yeah. It's like you have to speak up, but also roll with it.
Right. Voice your concerns and let me consider that. Right. And if you truly love your wife, you're going to honor her. It's about, okay, you're right, honey. Like, we shouldn't do that. I'm glad you spoke up.
Yeah. So maybe this kind of complements, and we could end it on this, but the way, early in our relationship, the way me and my wife talked about it was like, as being, what does it mean to be man of the house? What does it mean to be a submissive wife? Like, what does a godly submission look like? The way I broke it down was, like, when I stand before God, I'm responsible for my decisions and my whole family. Like, you're not. Like, God's not going to hold you accountable for how you lead this family. That's my responsibility. Yeah. So if I tell you as a wife, I'm like, hey, honey, I need you to go do this. And you're like, he's an idiot. He's wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. I should be doing something else. But if you do it anyway, if you do the dumb thing I asked you to do regardless, even though I was wrong, when you get to heaven, you can be like, look, God, My husband told me to do it.
Yeah.
And God will be like, why'd you tell her to do it? I'm coming after you, buddy. Like,
Right.
you're the one that told her to do it. That's my responsibility. And so that gives her kind of like a scapegoat. You know, it's like, hey, if your idiot husband told you to do something, hey, I was just obeying my husband, God. You said to obey my husband, I obeyed my husband, even though he's an idiot. Like, at least you're covered. But if you're just like, no, you're wrong, honey, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Like, well, now you're stepping out of that covering that I take the bullet for.
Right.
Now you're gonna take the bullet because you're stepping out from behind my responsibility. You're going off doing your own thing, and I'm not responsible for you now.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna answer for that, not me.
That's
so
good.
like that's a burden that's a heavy that I take real heavy.
And women can rest in that. And obviously there's
Yeah.
times where like you hear stories about men saying like don't go to church, like you are
Right.
not allowed to like worship God.
Right.
There's times where the woman's like, well, you can kill me, but I'm going to keep on going up to God.
And
Those are extreme.
But that also
situations.
is in that same thing that if she knows, like, if I asked my wife to go sin,
Yeah.
she would be like, I'm gonna answer for God if I do that as well. So like, yeah, you have to have a relationship with God to know that. But like,
Yeah.
you're covered. Like, there's a level of protection that you have if we're on the same team,
That's good.
and that's hard. Like that's hard. But yeah, it's a burden I bear heavily. All right, there we
wrap it
go.
up. So,
What
yeah.
does a woman want?
What do you guys
in a
think
man?
about that? Do you think they're right in that? If you're a woman, if you're a man, like where do you stand with all of this stuff? And what stuck out to you? What was profound?
Yeah.
Like, let us know.
Yeah, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. I love these ratings. We should keep this going. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you're a man, how masculine are you? And how
Truly
are we,
masculine.
but
Jesus
what's-
being the 10, right?
I was gonna say Chuck Norris, but
Like, no.
because if Chuck Norris is a 10,
He seems like he has a sense.
I'm like a 6, probably. I chop wood and work on my cars. I'm still a 6 compared to Chuck Norris. I don't know if I can compare myself to Jesus, so
It's good.